It finally happened. I got to see Saint Maud. How long have I been talking about this film on my channel? Holy shit. It's been a while. It's been a long while. It was my most anticipated horror film of 2020, which is crazy because there was a ton of films that should have possibly been higher up in my anticipation list, seeing as what a big fanboy I am of films like the Saw franchise or the Halloween franchise, and both of those were supposed to come out last year. They didn't. Nothing fucking did, mainstream anyway. And so we are now stuck waiting for all of those. But I did get to see Saint Maud, thankfully, because Jesus, man, I just, it got to the point where I was starting to almost lose interest to a degree, where I was like, that's how I'm starting to feel about Black Widow and stuff and something like that, where I'm just like, dude, I've thought it was coming out like 10 times now. I'm just like tired of getting excited for it. It just, you know what I mean? It starts to do that to you, which is weird. There's a place where it's like the anticipation grows and grows, and you're like, oh my God, just give it to me. And then it just starts to get overwhelming, and that's kind of what happened with this film. But I was still very excited. As soon as I got a hold of it, I was like, yes, here we go. And I mean, within seconds of acquiring it, I put it in, and I was so on board, ready to watch this shit. Now, let me say, the hype was legendary, right? For me, because I built it up so much wanting to watch this fucking movie. And that is almost unfair to any film. And I've seen the trailer a lot. It's played before a ton of things that I've seen. It's, I've watched it a couple times myself previous to its release. That didn't happen. So there was a lot of excitement, a lot of build up, a lot of anticipation, and the trailer set a certain tone. And A24 brings with it a certain, quality that I've come to expect from films like Hereditary or Midsommar, or the list goes on. There's a lot of great A24 movies. I know there's some people out there who hate on it, and there's some people who love them maybe a little too much, or A24 fanboys and seem to defend anything that the company does. But I'm somewhere in that middle ground where some films I fucking love out of my mind crazy about, and some I'm not a big fan of, like any rational person probably would be. So did this live up to the hype and the anticipation? Okay, no, but that doesn't mean anything bad about the film exactly. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that there's been a few films like this in the past where this has happened. The Babadook, something like that, where there's such an expectation to a certain like style or a certain direction you think the film's going to go because you've waited for so long. You've watched the trailers, you've seen the hype, you've seen the reviews, you've seen all this shit. And so you start building up this film in your head, which I try and really honestly not to do. But it's so hard not to do it, especially with how much I was excited about this film. So I sat down and I watched it, and it is very much the trailer that I was shown, but not a ton more. There's more, for sure, obviously, but I feel like the trailer gives away so much of this film. There's so much revealed in the trailer. And also, because of that, I thought that the film was going to get way crazier. I thought that there was going to be a much bigger climax than there was. Now, having watched the film and being able to step back, breathe, process, think about the film as a whole, I can honestly say that I think it's a really damn good movie that I could potentially end up loving on multiple watches, because I will take it as it is. I will take it as the film as it's presenting itself, and not the film that I went in hoping or expecting, So what I'm hoping and expecting isn't exactly the film I need or want. It's just the film I think that I should get at the time in which I'm thinking it. So once I've actually seen the film, which I did now, and I can see it and think about it, I really enjoy the film as is. And of course, this film has a lot of subtext, and it has a lot to digest, and it's a character study, right? For any of you that don't know, it's a little late to get into a synopsis, but I would assume that the majority of you at least know what this film is about. But there's a woman, and she basically starts to she has something happen to her, so she starts to believe in God, and really start dedicating herself to her religion, and she is taking care of a dying woman, and through this she starts to try to make this woman see what she sees, this connection that she has with God. Now, this connection and this faith that she has is questioned in this film, and this makes her go down a much darker path, to the point where she has to basically make herself a saint. I'm not going to obviously get more into that, but you can guess from the trailer the majority of this film. And it is fairly ambiguous in places, but I do feel like there's a concrete answer here, to me. It could be argued one way or the other. I'm sure you know what one way or the other means. But for me, I feel like the very last second of this film kind of confirms what's actually happening in this film. But the film is it's beautifully shot in the way that it wants to be shot. It's kind of a dreary looking film. It doesn't have a lot of colors to it. It's no Midsommar or anything, obviously. It's very dark and, as I said, dreary. But that's what it's going for. And with that, it lands that absolutely. The performances, especially from our main girl, Saint Maud herself, is phenomenal. The acting across the board is fantastic. One would expect that from any A24 film. A film that I don't even like in the A24 catalog, I'm going to think has great acting. I don't think I've ever seen an A24 film that doesn't meet all the requirements of filmmaking. It's just, I don't like the movie. You know what I mean? So with that, I always expect high caliber filmmaking, acting, all the behind the scenes type of stuff, with varying degrees of success in my enjoyability of it. This one, though, I did keep waiting for something more to happen. I was never bored. I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. The trailer very much tells me what I'm looking for in this film. I just built up this expectations of a huge climactic, kind of ending here, and that's not exactly what I got. But does the ending fit the film and how it plays out? Absolutely. Is this a very good, well-made film? Absolutely. Did I like it? Absolutely. Could I love it? Absolutely. So this isn't exactly a disappointment. At first, I did feel a little disappointed just because of what I built it up in my head as. But then I took a step back and was like, all right, Jason, let's think about this. Let's really analyze this film for what it is. Let's start thinking about everything that Maud goes through, what the other characters are going through, what you saw on film, what that could mean for her character, all these things. And then I started to get more excited about the film. It made me want to go back and rewatch it with, fresh eyes and eyes that knew what I was getting myself into, which I've done in the past with certain films that I was not huge on. And then I went back and rewatched them, something like The Black Coat's Daughter, which I didn't get at all at first. And then I went back in with these new, fresh eyes of like, okay, no, I know what I'm looking for now. This is a much slower film than I was anticipating. It's a lot more ambiguous. It's a lot more, there's not as much going on as maybe you had originally expected. And then I went back and rewatched it, and I was like, oh my god, I think this is fucking near a masterpiece. So it's very possible that this could happen with this film. But on my first viewing right now, I'm not in the love category, but I do think it's a pretty great film. But so in that regard, I'll say that I'm pleased with the film. It as of right now, it would not have made my number one spot of 2020, because I said that this would probably would. See how much I built it up? This is my own damn fault. But I don't know where it would. I don't know where it would land on my top 25 like I did, but it'd be on there. It'd definitely make the list. It just wouldn't be number one. It wouldn't be number two. You know, it wouldn't beat out Monstrum or The Lodge or something like that I loved, or even maybe even VFW. Maybe on a second viewing, it might get itself pretty high up there, but we'll see once I get to that second viewing. Maybe I'll do a spoiler discussion or something. But for right now, it's a damn good film. And I can't wait for all of you to see it. Just know that this film is slow. It's an A24 film. You should know what you're getting yourself into with A24. It's a extremely competently well-made film with great acting that's very slow, ambiguous, and is going to bore the shit out of half the audience that goes to see it, and they're going to fucking hate it. That's A24, and I love them for it. So, it's a good film. Let me know when you watch it. It should be hitting you guys real soon. I think February 12th is when it hits VOD. So, let me know. See you in the comments. Adios.